Welcome to another episode of Streamin with a Purpose. It's time to be inspired and motivated to live your best life on purpose. On Streamin with a Purpose, hear the stories of people who have, despite the odds, dealt with the challenges that life sometimes brings, but who still manage to overcome those odds. If you think life is tough and you have to settle for where you are, my guests and I are here to tell you, you don't have to. I speak to people who were once where you are and are now living their purpose, and I want to encourage you to live your life to the fullest. I am your host, Sylvia Montgomery. Let's take a listen to our next guest. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Streamin with a Purpose. I'm your host, Sylvia Montgomery, and I'm so glad you're tuned in to the show today. Hey, listen, today's show is definitely one that tears at the heartstrings. I'm talking to a young lady today named Dana Terrell. How are you today, Dana?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Awesome, doing great myself. Now, listen, Dana is from my hometown, and she's a dear family member as well, who has been very, very adamant over a number of years now to do what God has called her to do. Dana has established New Beginnings Outreach, a resource for many people who otherwise may not have access to various resources that they need to make it from day to day. So we're going to talk to Dana today about her mission, what fueled her, and where this journey is likely to take her next. So I'm just so excited to hear Dana's story, and she's excited to share. Can you tell? So Dana, yeah, we're sitting back here kicking it. I see you back there enjoying the weather today. It's a beautiful day outside.
Yeah,
Um,
it's nice out here.
Absolutely. And again, I want to welcome you to Streaming with a Purpose. Now, Dana, would you like to share a little about your background and how your story landed to the establishment of New Beginnings Outreach?
Um, but New Beginnings Outreach, um, I've always been the one to want to help people and do stuff for people ever since I was younger. I got started with New Beginnings Outreach because I knew it was a need. There's so many people out there that in need of help. It's helping resources out here, but some of the things that people need, they didn't know where to go to get that help. So as far as with New Beginnings Outreach, it stands for, helping people in need, new beginnings, fresh start, starting over. When I first started out, I wanted to help people that were struggling. Like it started out like with the senior citizens that couldn't afford their medications and stuff, to have some type of program that would help them to afford their medications, be able to pay their bills. But as I went, as I started working on it and doing more, I realized that that's not exactly what God wanted me to do. So I had been through, starting out with me, for example, I've been through a lot in my life, being, mom, 3 kids, working, trying to keep up with the bills and everything, just trying to stay afloat. I had moved a couple of times. I had situations where, my lights was turned off. I didn't have the money to pay it. So sometimes I went without the lights being on. Sometimes with the water bill, I had my car repoed a couple of times. So it was just a struggle. So I had gotten to the point where, I was talking to God. I was like, I don't understand this. I don't know why I keep going through this. And for a while, I kept doing that. I don't understand why I keep going through this. So one day I was coming down the road. I had got off from work because I talk to God all the time. I'm always in constant prayer. And, when I'm going to work and when I'm coming home, that's my time with God. It's like I start talking, and half the time I don't even realize. I do it so much I don't even realize I'm doing it. Just like I'm talking to you, that's the way I talk to him. So I had gotten off from work one day and I was coming home, and I was talking to God and I was praying and I was like, I went through the same thing and I was like, I don't understand. I don't understand. Why do I keep going through this? And then it hit me and I remember I took my fist and I punched the steering wheel on my car and I was like, I said, okay, God, I get it. I understand now. So it was like everything that I was going through, it wasn't about me, but it was like I had to go through this because with the calling that God had for me, what He wants me to do, I had to go through it. I had to go through those things because the people that was going to be coming my way, you have to have an understanding. I had to understand what those people were going through in order to help them better. So, in order to understand somebody's situation, you have to go through a little bit to have a fuller understanding. So that way you have a better understanding and help that person. So so that's when I started with New Beginnings Outreach. And of course I had like another whole idea for it. But then God was like, no, that's not what I want you to do either. So then I ended up the house that I was in, I ended up moving because the owners ended up selling the house that I was in. So in the process that I was in a hotel room for a while. And while I was in this hotel room, I was like, it usually don't take me long to, find someplace. So I was like, I was in this hotel room for a while, but it's like God had to put me there to see. It was something He wanted me to see, and I saw it because I didn't realize that it was so many families living in the hotels. So you have these families there. Some of them is, might have a single parent with 2 or 3 kids. You might have a husband and wife, and they got 2 or 3 kids, and they're living in this hotel. Their whole family. The school buses are coming. They're picking these kids up from the hotels. They're taking them to school. They're bringing them back. So I was like, okay, I see it. So these families that's living in these hotels, it's not like they can't afford to pay rent. They just can't because they can't find some place to go because they're living from paycheck to paycheck. So while they're in this hotel room, they have to pay for the room every week. They have to pay for gas to put in their car to get back and forth to work. They have to buy food for the kids. So this is taking their money every week. So with New Beginnings Outreach, it's a program where I come in to help these families to get like the first month's rent or the deposit so that they can get out of the hotel into a bigger space so that they can do better for their families. They just need that help with getting out with like the first month's rent and deposit so that they can work on getting their life together. So that's where New Beginnings Outreach came in for me. So to help these families.
Dana, that is quite a story. And you shared a whole lot. You shared a whole
Yeah.
lot. You shared so much
Mhm.
that I feel I'm gonna miss something. Once
Yeah.
I get that I really wanted.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
But this starting from the beginning, as you started out, um,
Mhm.
so often when I talk to individuals, when I talk to them about their purpose, what I hear is that um, purpose comes from your pain. So
Mhm.
purpose comes from what you have to deal with yourself
Mhm.
to go through.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
what I'm hearing from you is that is exactly what happened. That is exactly the case.
Mhm.
You have
Yeah.
to go through some things yourself. Like you felt so much of what the constituents, the people that you represent, the people that you help every day. It sounds
Mhm.
like you know so much of what they go through and what they have to deal with. And that in
Mhm.
itself makes it so much easier
Mhm.
for you
Yeah.
to do with New
Mhm.
Beginnings.
Yeah.
So you're serving the unhoused who are
Mhm.
in motels.
Mhm.
And I heard you say, so often when people are on the outside looking in,
Mhm.
they look at
Mhm.
people and can be
Mhm.
very judgmental about
Mhm.
the situation, how they got in
Yeah.
the situation. what
Mhm.
to get out of that situation, but it's so easy to say these things. And what I hear you say is that there are people out there who are unhoused and who are,
Mhm.
but like so many people in America today
Mhm.
are living paycheck to paycheck. And it just
Yeah.
happens that
Yeah.
their house happens to be a motel at this particular time. So they,
Mhm.
and it sounds like New Beginnings Outreach is in a position to help them to do better.
Yeah. Yeah. Because there's a lot of people going through stuff, and like you said, people don't realize what people are going through just by looking at them. Some people don't want people to know what they're going through. But then when you like these families, like a lot of them I had talked to, and you just can't imagine what some of these families have been through and what they're dealing with, and still dealing with stuff, even being in a hotel. So and that's just more added pressure because now you got your whole family and you cramped up in this one little room. So um yeah, so it gets a little frustrating. So they need their space. The kids need their space. They need a yard to run around in to play. When they doing their homework and stuff, they need their own separate space, to do their homework and stuff. So yeah, so it's a need. They need um that help.
You seem to be coming from such a non-judgmental place,
Hmm.
looking at the needs rather than
Hmm.
asking the questions why.
Yeah.
How long was it, Dana, or just some idea of from the time when you started going through various situations yourself and, before you realized why it was you were going through what you going through, what you went through? Because I heard you say that, you talk to the Lord
Hmm.
often, and then finally he told you, this is why you have to go through what you're going through.
Yeah.
When did that light bulb, when did that happen for you when you realized
Um, let's see. I went through this for maybe about probably close to 10 years.
that?
Yeah, maybe close to 10 years.
Mm.
And then I think when I finally realized it, it was about 15, 16 years ago. Yeah. So I have been, working on it a little bit, and I have been procrastinating. So, one thing I learned is when God tell you to do something, you need to do it. Because I would start on it and I wouldn't finish. As far as doing the research and stuff on it, it's like I would do a little bit and then I would stop. And it was like God would place people in my path, that I would have conversations with about this. And they would, give me input. They would give me information. I would write it down, jot it down, and then, of course, I would stick it to the side, and I never get it done. So God be like, okay, I'm gonna put you in this situation. I'm gonna put you in that situation until you do what I asked you to do. So yeah, so it was a process. Yeah, until I finally, say, okay, God, I'm gonna move on it. So that was just last year that I went through and I got the name, and I still have to, file for the nonprofit status. But as far as the nonprofit, everything else is done. I just have to do that for the tax purpose for the nonprofit. So that's all I have left to do. After that, I'm good to go.
So you filed for the name last year. Congratulations,
Mhm.
man. I'm glad you got that.
Thank you.
Actually been doing the
Mhm.
work of the business for some years
Mhm.
now.
Yeah, yeah, I have. So I have been doing the toys for tots and stuff. I know we had started at our church. Well, actually, I volunteered at the Department of Social Service for a couple of years or so. I headed up the toys for tots there and the Christmas and Thanksgiving programs and stuff for different families. And then I brought it back to my church. And of course, one of my members, she worked on the military base. So she was like, okay, we can go ahead and do this. And I ended up getting like a temporary number for my nonprofit. So yeah, so I did. I ended up using that, and then I got the toys for Tarts through. my nonprofit, and I was able to do, help more families. So it's two hotels that I target every year, and so it's probably about, I know it's 7 families at one hotel, and then 5 or 6 at the other hotel, and then every year is more. Yeah, so I target those, and then this past year we did the Thanksgiving dinner at one of the hotels for the families. Yeah. So it's growing with different things right now, but I want to be able to do more. And then the main thing is to just get those families out of the hotels. Because there's one family there that's been there for, I think she said they have been there close to 10 years. Yeah. So they have been there for a while. Um, and she was telling me how, how hard it was because her husband does like maintenance work and stuff. So he does work there at the hotel. So that helps to pay for the room.
Right?
But yeah. So yeah, but it's a lot that people are going through. Um, yeah. And they need that extra help in doing yeah, to do better.
Now, did I hear you correctly? Did I understand that you said that once you did establish your name and you got your business going in the
Hmm.
proper way, that you
Uh-huh.
were able to do a little bit more than you were doing before?
Yeah, yeah, I was able to do more. Yep.
I think that
So,
that's a great lesson for anyone who's listening because what
mhm.
tell us that when God tells you, when God speaks to you and tells you to do this, we need
Mhm.
to move and do it. Would you
Yeah.
that, Dana?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. If you have something that's tugging at your heart that you want to do, then, you know, well, I said, pray on it, ask God what it is He wants you to do, and He'll lead you and He'll guide you. And mostly it's whatever you're passionate about. So, yeah.
Now, you're saying that your mission right now is to help families get out of
Mhm.
themselves and into homes.
Yeah.
Is there a strategy moving forward for what that would look like for you? Do you know what the next stage? Because I also hear you say, I want it
Mhm.
more. So, do you know what
Uh-huh.
the next level looks like for your business?
Well, right now, I'm trying to figure out how to do grants. I don't know too much about grants, but I'm trying to see about, how to go about getting a grant where I'll be able to do more. But in the meantime, I'm gonna be thinking about different fundraisers to do, where I can raise money to help these families.
Mhm.
So I figure if I can, if I can, I know it's gonna be a process, but even if I can help maybe 5 families a year to get out of a hotel. That I know if I can do more, that would be a blessing. It's so many. Um, yeah. But right now, I'm just gonna say if I can help 5 families a year to
Dana,
get out.
so Dana, when you look back over what you've done already and the steps that you've
Hmm.
taken and things that you've done, is
Hmm.
there anything you would do differently at this stage of your business?
Um, no, no, it wouldn't because I mean, everything that I've been through to get to this point, and as far as the families that I've been able to help, you know, no, I wouldn't change anything because I look at it like, like I had to go through what I had to go through to get to this point and to be able to see the expression on some of these families' faces. That's a blessing in itself. And I'm gonna tell you the first year that well, not the first year, but the second year that I did it, and I took my daughter with me, and we had the toys for tarts, and we took the toys. I had everything in bags, and we went round and we had the names and the room numbers on each bag, and we were giving them out, and she was helping me give them. In this particular year, they had bikes for all the kids because when we went to Toys for Tots, they had somebody had brought the bikes in at the end, and they had gotten rid of mostly all the toys, and they didn't have too many more people to pick up. So they ended up giving us the bikes. So it was a lot of little bikes for the girls and the boys. So we took it around all the families. They got the bikes, they got the toys, and when we got around to this last family, it was this guy, and it was him, his wife, and he had 2 kids. His wife was in the hospital because she was pregnant with their third child, and something had happened and she wasn't there. So when we took the bike in to his son, because I knew he was old enough, for the bike. So he was all excited and they was playing with the toys and everything. And his daughter, she was about 2 years old. And she looked at me and she was like, I want a bike. And I was like, oh no. I was like, we didn't have any more bikes, and I told her dad, I was like, we got it for, the bigger kids, not for, the little ones. So my daughter, she was coming down the sidewalk and she was like, Mom, we got another. It was a little pink bicycle with the little pom-pom things. Yeah. But it was a little small bike. It had the training wheels on it and it had the little pom-pom things on the wheel. So my daughter came through and she was like, Mom, she was like, this was an extra bike. It was an extra bike for a family that we thought that had 2, but it wasn't. It was just the one. So she come down the sidewalk with this bike, and I was like, well, you're in luck today. I was like, here's your bike. And she looked at her dad, and she was like, oh, Dad, I got a bike. I got a bike. And just seeing the expression on her face, and my daughter was like, she was like, oh, no. She said, Mom, I'm going to cry. And she had to turn around so they didn't see her cry. But at that moment, with seeing that family, they were excited about what they had gotten because the dad was like, he didn't know what he was going to do for Christmas. And then seeing the, emotional side of my daughter with, with doing this. And that just made my day. So it was like, yeah.
And what a teaching moment also.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's why you do what you do now.
Yeah. Yep.
It's 2 people, right?
Yeah.
And also, as you were talking, Dana, what went through my mind is trust. Trust. People, they trust you. When they see you coming, they see a face of a person that they trust.
Yeah.
That cares about them and their situation and give help to them. And that is so important. Especially when you're talking about the unhoused who are looking for opportunities, who are looking for services, and who are looking for people who are willing to, just help them, stick their neck out for them. And when they see you, they know that you're that person for them. So that's awesome for you. I know you're in the park area, and I know you're about to close the park. So, Dana, how can people contact you who may be interested in donating to your cause, helping you to do even more than what you've done now, and helping you to get to that next level? What if people wanted to donate? And I hear you say you've got fundraisers coming up. How can they help them? How can they donate, and how can people get in touch with you?
I do have my email address, which is danaterrell1@aol.com.
So Dana, really did enjoy talking with you today. Thank you so much for being on Streamin.
You're welcome.
Truly, you're living your purpose, and I pray that God continues to bless your business and that you do even more, and get to more individuals to get them in their homes. Okay.
Well, thank you for having me.
Thank you, Dana.
Thank you.
You have just listened to Streamin with a Purpose with your host, Sylvia Montgomery. Thank you so much for listening, and continue to stay tuned for our next episode. Until then, bye-bye.